Hello everyone and welcome for this new episode of the weekly community show for Embers Adrift. It has been a little while and I'm very happy that we are back. We have plenty of things to catch up today, a lot of patch notes that we have not been discussing the past week, and a roadmap for what we are working on, so the work in progress. This is something that has been asked by a lot of people from our community or for new members that were curious to know more about Embers Adrift. So today we are going to answer all those type of questions. If you have anything you want to ask, please feel free to ask your question in the comments below and I will be very happy to answer you or to attempt to answer you in the next episode. So during those last 3 weeks, we have, of course, plenty of bugs and fixes and all kind of things that have been improved, but we have mostly 3 new things. The first one, it's really exciting. We have the first implementation of the technology that will allow us to have season in-game. So we do start to have a seasonal cycle in-game. Obviously, this is going to be improved, but we have the first iteration of that, and you can already see that for now in-game we're in the winter. Some trees have lost their leaves, the crop are very low, the grass is burned, it's brown, it's not the fresh green grass you had before. So, and those cycle will go every month, so a whole year will be 1 month, and that's the cycle we will go through. So you will have the possibility to experience all season through 1 month. It's still rough and still need to be improved and expanded, but that's the first big new thing. The second big new things, maybe you don't care so much, but we have new server, which is great, which will allow us to do plenty of things in future technical wise, yeah, as I'm not a technician myself, I cannot tell you all the implication it has, but it's really good. We have a new server that took a lot of time to undone, to focus on. And then third, the last new things is the death mechanic, which is not really death because you don't die in our game, you just fall into combat, but that mechanic has been revamped a little bit and we are waiting your feedback. As a reminder, your feedback is always most important. May you like something, may you don't like something, may you like it halfway, do you have any idea, any things you will tweak, anything. Really, please share your feedback, because sometimes we implement something new and we don't receive feedback when we launch that things, and it's only 1 month later that someone is reacting to it, and then it's a little bit too late, or not, it's not too late, but it's much more work to go back to it previously. If you had give your feedback immediately, it would have been easier for the devs to work and address the problems. So that's, once again, I'm insisting on the fact that your feedback is extremely precious. The developers are listening to your feedback, even if they don't act immediately. This is always considered and seek, maybe negative or positive. As long as it's constructive, it's good. And as long as you're not criticizing other people's feedback and you let everyone express themselves, that's all we ask. So Ashes is asking, I had a question, will there be any magic implemented? I've seen the class be more medieval thus far. So we have a low fantasy setting, that's a fact, but that doesn't mean there is no magic at all. It's just that we are not calling it that way, we're calling it alchemy. Our idea is that you enter into this world, it sounds a little bit more like a normal medieval fantasy game. Well, a medieval low fantasy game, more mundane, more regular, more normal. You fight with your weapon, stuff like that. But then you discover the secret of the Ember, which is step by step revealed to you. And if you're curious, if you want to learn it, then slowly you will be able to take advantage of that weird substance created by the world. What is it? How do you use it? And then you will, in the end, you will be able to empower your own abilities with it. And that will be the equivalent of magic. The only thing is that we wanted a grounded world, therefore everything has a more scientific explanation to it, and it's more like that you will take care of those secrets. It's more from a scholarish and scientific way than a real magical way. So we wanted something more grounded, therefore everything which seems supernatural will be more out of place and will be more exciting. So we have a lot of feedback related to the magic in game, or the lack of magic and the lack of spellcaster, for example. Some people are really turned off by that, which I can understand and we respect that, but we still have decided to go to this route because we want to create in the player this excitement of having to discover it, having to learn it, having to find the secrets, unveil the mysteries, and learn to master this substance to become, if they want, if they're interested, something that looks like a spellcaster. So instead of being a spellcaster right away when you start the game at level 1, you might become one after a long quest. And so we wanted to create that aspect, which is in no game, no MMORPG propose you that route. So that's why we wanted to do that. It might not be the most popular way, but I really hope that the people that are disappointed by the fact that they cannot, throw fireball at level 1 might reconsider this and think about the pleasure it can be to do a long journey and become that spellcaster after have worked for it. Embers Adrift is a game which is all about the journey. It's all about gaining power step by step. It's all about being super poop at the start and being a crap adventurer, and then become a hero after a long training and a long journey. So yeah, I hope that the people that are, declining Embers Adrift because there is no spellcaster might reconsider their choice when they learn about and understand that it is all about a journey. Well, super poop, yeah. You're just fighting with your sword and you just have 2 abilities. Ashara Mitra, hi. Welcome. Super poop become mega alchemist. Exactly. And it's all a journey. So for now, the alchemy is not in game yet. So this is something we're working on. So at first, we want players to be able to gather Ember Essence. That will be in game soon. That Ember Essence will be used for several things, like our fast travel mechanic that is for now free, but once the Ember Essence is in game, the fast travel, that's one of our Ember pillar. That's what's used for fast travel. So once you use that, you will have to use some Ember Essence. It will also be used to empower certain region and transform them, and that's the alchemy process. So at the moment, certain abilities can use a region. That region empower, make your ability more powerful. And in future, the idea is that those regions can be tweaked with the alchemy and transforming those abilities with the ember. And so you will have this type of magic aspect, because it's not just a region that empower your abilities. Like a poison, for example. Spider poison is empowering the venom for the warden, for example. Or beer urine, yes, you hear it right. Beer urine is empowering the taunt of the defender, because what is more irritating than receiving in your face some beer urine? Of course, you're going to smash the face of the one who throw you that. So you see the idea. And then with the ember, you will be able to empower further the region that you can use for certain of those abilities. All right. So let's get started with the reading of the patch notes. So here it is, that's the patch notes for July the 13th. So I'm not going to read them in detail. Obviously, if you want to read them in detail, I recommend you to get on the forum and to check that out for yourself. But I just want to show up what's new. This week, we're bringing you a slew of updates, including vegetation improvement, rendering optimization, camera fixes, and design change. So you will have plenty of fixes for the vegetation, the grass. That's something really nice. Player will interact with grass as they move through. This functionality will likely come to NPCs in the near future. So that's the kind of things that we want to have. Some nice little improvement that are aesthetically pleasing and increase the immersion. So we do have also a lot of camera improvement. One which is really good is adjusted the collision parameter to avoid issue in tight space. All of those are also relating to Unity's progress. Sometimes the bugs come from Unity itself, and so we have to find work around that. So there is some aspect of our game that is limited by Unity's doing as well. So that's something important to keep in mind. It's not always our fault. Sometimes it's Unity's. That's what I mean. Now that we have finalized our move to Unity 2021, we are starting to tinker with features previously not utilized. The first of which is seasonal variation for vegetation. With this patch, you will start to notice subtle changes to the vegetation as the season passes. Over the course of an in-game year, roughly 28 days in real time, deciduous tree will lose their leaves, the hue on vegetation will brown, and crops will grow and shrink. Those changes are meant to be subtle and just add a bit of the visual variety to the zone. The framework we are building for those changes also paved the way for the eventual implementation of snow, rain, and other weather effects. Here's a quick and dirty video of this in action. Keep an eye out for those subtle changes. Deciduous trees in the background losing and gaining their leaf, wheat and flowers shrink then grow, foliage and ground hue change subtly over time. And so here we have a little video that I'm going to play just so you can see. It's not a very nice video, but it just gives you an idea of what it looks like. You see the flower disappearing. The crop are reducing, the trees have lost their leaves, and then they grow back. So it doesn't work on every tree, but mostly the big ones. Playing it again, so you can see that again. You can see the trees here. The grass which is more brown, and we're going back to the spring with some lushness. There, this is green again, and the trees are full of leaf and the flowers are big. This remix is saying that will make for a very lively in feel for the world. Yes, I really hope. But as you see, Smarlbone, and to answer your question, the autumn colors are not there yet. But it will be nice if they will be in future. So, but with this video, you really see it. It's not really going all red and orange and yellow. But I would love that because I really love, and autumn is one of my favorite seasons because of that. So I really would love that. Let's go to the July 20. Oh, that's the new server, guys. That's a picture of the new server. This week bring bug fixes, more variety in loot tables, and AoE improvement. A good chunk of my time, speaking of undone time, was spent configuring new servers, configuring the new router, analyzing player leveling rates, and tweaking experience curves. Sand, which is our dev encoder that is working specifically on Quest at the moment, continue to work on Quest and tell me that we are close to internal testing, which means player testing is just around the corner. Adrift has been populating spawn template for the dungeon room, which will make bringing new dungeon online far quicker than we were able to do in the past. So that's little thing, sorry. It's really work in progress. So that's not ready yet, but the dungeon and the quest soon in. Alright. Spawn controller improvements. So that's work in progress, timeline 1 to 2 weeks. There are two primary improvements that I'm looking to make to our spawning system in the near future. The first of which is adding an additional option for selecting what spawns. Currently, each spawn is selected via random draw from a list of items with fixed probabilities. However, this can lead to some bad RNG since each draw uses the same set of probabilities. In other words, if a rare spawn has a 5% chance of popping, then every time the spawn controller goes to select a spawn, it has a 5% chance of selecting that rare. This new method will instead construct a fixed size list containing a number of each item based on their desired probability. As an example, we might create a list of 100 items to draw from, and 5 of those items will be the rare spawn. Now, every time the controller draws it, it will remove an item from the list, increasing the probability that the remaining items will be selected on the next draw. This methodology will likely be extended to loot drops shortly afterwards. The second improvement is adding tech to support Ashen variants. That's very important, the Ashen variant. Without spoiling too much of the fun, I can say that some additional tech is required in order to bring Ashen creator online in the way we want. Those creators will be your primary way of collecting Ember and Sands, so how we will be bringing them into the world is a bit different. So in case you're wondering what is an Ashen creator, you have seen in the trailer the beer, the Ashen beer. That's an Ashen creator. There will be more than Ashen beer. Every creator might become an Ashen variant of them. Another very important item, experience re-evaluation, timeline 2 to 3 weeks. Over the past week, I've been analyzing the rate at which you have been leveling since the last wipe. The general consensus is that the pace of leveling from 1 to 10 is just where we want it. After level 10, however, things seems to be going a bit too quickly. By extrapolating your average leveling pace, we calculate how much playing time will be required to hit max level. Our findings miss our target by a large margin. I then started looking into different mathematical representation of a leveling curve that might give us a bit more control over the pacing. The current curve is a relatively simple exponential. Modifying the parameter, however, impact the entire curve and will make the endgame nearly impossible. Switching over to a logarithmic curve gives us a bit more flexibility in where the rise in difficulty happens, but make the latter levels all roughly the same. Finally, we come around to the trusty quadric equation. This gives us a good amount of control, but require a good amount of fine-tuning of parameter. We're still working our way through the finer detail on what this curve looks like, but our goal is to make level 1 to 10 feel as they do now, and then past that slowing things down while making each subsequent level slightly more difficult than the last. And I'm going directly to this post because there is a little update according to that has been posted this week. I think my post last week regarding experience re-evaluation was misinterpreted a bit. As mentioned above, we are in no way trying to impose a hardcore or an old school mentality. What I am trying to do is to make the later levels, the one which you have likely not yet experienced, less painful by offloading some of that grind to the middle level. In other words, my goal is to redistribute of the grind rather than simply increase it. The net result will mean less work is required at later levels compared to the current configuration at the cost of slightly more work in the current mid-level. It's also important to remind people that the goal of this game is to experience a journey. So you don't want to have leveling too fast, because if you are leveling too fast, you're not doing a journey, you're doing a fast rush to max level, and then at max level you're done. That's not what we want. We want you to experience the journey, and that the journey is important. The goal of the game is to live the journey, is to experience it, is to make friends along the way, is to have adventure along the way, to have this feeling, this joyous feeling of progressing your character. And the fact that it takes time, it's not to make you grind, it's not to make you work a lot, it's to make you take your time and enjoy it, like savor it, have fun, like don't see it as something you have to go through it super fast to reach the end. The goal is not to reach the end as fast as possible. The goal is to enjoy every step on the way. And it's also, we are not really focusing our game about in-games activity. There will be some, obviously. It's not like you're done, you max level, you're done. You can close the game or relevel another character. That's not the purpose, but it's not going to be like Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft, where you really have a focus area with with some specific endgame activities, and so some people will want to rush to arrive there because they have the feeling the game is starting then. So that's not at all our idea. Our idea is just to have this long journey, and when you reach endgame, you continue your journey, basically, with different activities, etc., but still a journey. A MMO should not have an end. Yeah, that's a little bit what we're trying to do. Yeah, at the moment, we do not have any scaling going on. And we will not have the time to work on such a technology before the launch of the game. However, the way our game is built, it's more forgiving to join up a low-level group. For example, when you're a little higher level, you're not going to ruin completely the experience because you're higher level. And you will still find trouble even with mobs that are 10 level below you. But we do not have a scaling system or a mentoring system. That is probably something we will be thinking about once we are past launch. At least I am heavily in favor of doing something like that, exactly for what you say, to encourage players to play together even when they have level difference. So at the moment we have just created the game in such a way where it's kind of forgiving to not be on the same level than your peers, but it is not to the point of level scaling. So, Ashes is saying, I prefer working together toward common goals, and that's exactly what Embers Adrift is all about. That's the purpose of our game. The first and foremost purpose is to allow players to team up together, to cooperate together, to face challenge together, to have an adventure together, and to have memories together, because that's how you forge friendship. Friendship is something that takes time to happen. It's not something you do like in a LFG, right? Well, it can happen, but it's very rare. So you need to allow the space and the time to have those conversations happening, to have those adventures together, to have the need of acquiring the help of other players. And when you have a challenging game, players play the game differently. they will have more empathy and more compassion. They know, oh, you have lost your bag. Oh yeah, remember, that sucked. I'm going to help you to find your bag again. Oh, you want to defeat that group of mob? Yeah, they're pretty tough. I'm coming. I'm going to help you because I had hard time myself. You see, that's one aspect we want to create into the heart of people, and it's very difficult to, because you don't have a secret recipe. You do this and this, and then tada, you create friendship machine. There's something very subtle, and that's what we have been really working hard to create our game. So there it is. Going to continue this section. So what's new this week in the game? A good chunk of time this week was spent installing and configuring our new server. This includes setting up a new network and adjusting all the things to communicate with one another as expected. The most important things left to do is to make adjustment to our server deployment pipeline to accommodate the new location. Until this is done, I will be manually deploying them. Even with that giant distraction, we were able to sneak in a good amount of content and QoL updates. I also want to clear up a few misconceptions about how we as developers view our game. While it may have been true in the past that we touted our game as hardcore or focused on a very old school mentality, we have spent the better part of the last 2 years attempting to shed that stigma. Since our rebranding, the game has gone through significant changes in hope of making the game more appealing to a wider audience while maintaining what we feel makes our game special. And yes, our special sauce clearly stick us to the niche category of games, but don't mistake that for us being satisfied with a mediocre product. We want players of all experiences, new and old alike, to enjoy themselves while playing Embers Adrift. Keep your feedback coming. And I want to add something related to that. The feeling we want to emulate from our inspiration from old game, it's the feeling of the adventure, of the journey. It's not a precise mechanic that you found into this old game. It is more this very like intangible feeling. And that's come back to what I was saying earlier. You don't have a secret formula to create that. Playing with the feeling of people, inspiring them an experience, it's something much more difficult than to say, we want our combat to be this way and we want to do our loot that way. It is really observing players' behavior, observing players' reaction, seeing how we can manage to make them experience those feelings of evolving into a world, being excited by exploring it, being thrilled by discovering new things, hunting for some loot and helping each other, building friendship. Our game is slow paced, for example, to give you that time to have a chat with other player, to not be on the rush all the time, to be able to look around you, enjoy the landscape while you're having a combat going on. When you have two fast-paced game, you need to focus entirely on the action. You cannot just oh, a flower, oh, a butterfly, you know, except when you're crafting maybe and gathering your herbs. But here it's a whole experience where we want some slow time, some moments where you have nothing to do because you need to rest between two fights, and during that time, you guess what? You can chat with people in your group. You can type a sentence. You can help a player on the global channel because he needs some information. So we give you some space, some time, so you can do something else with that time, something more important than fighting a mob or than getting some loot, like building relationships or enjoy the beauty of the world. There it is. New stuff. What is new? Picking up flower, that's a nice activity. Indeed. So the new server has been installed and mostly configured. There are a few automation tasks that need to be rerouted, most of which revolve around server deployment, but so far things are working well. Hopefully this new server will yield improved NPC responsiveness and allow us to run more zones at once. Nice. So now, this is something really interesting. Purchasing with bank funds. You were asking earlier if we had a bank and you can drop your money in your bank. We even recommend you to drop your money in your bank because remember, when you fall in combat, you lose your bag with everything in your bag, including your money. So when you store your money and you're wise and economic and you put some money into your bank, that kind of trouble doesn't happen, not as much at least. So, this week we're allowing you to purchase from the merchant or repair the blacksmith using funds from your personal stash. At the bottom of each of those interfaces we have added an available panel which shows you how much money you have available to spend and where that money is coming from via the bag or the bank icon. This currently applies to all merchants and blacksmiths in the game because all merchants and blacksmiths are near your personal stash. However, in the future, you may encounter an isolated merchant or blacksmith that will only accept money from your bag. Money is drawn from your bag first, followed by your stash. A few things to notice in the above screenshots. First is the new available money panel on the merchant and blacksmith interface. You can see here, right? Available. Next is the new container type icon, upper left on both your bag and personal stash. Those corresponds to the icon shown in the available panel of the merchant and blacksmith interface. Finally, we have the vertical ellipsis in the right of your personal stash currency panel. This can be left-clicked to bring up the context menu for deposit withdraw, in addition to the normal right-clicking on the money itself. Another very important change is the bag retrieval mechanic improvement. That will interest you, Ishabi, because I know you had some problem with that. So, and for that, we are going to enter into the discussion of the death mechanic, which is not really death then again, because you don't die in our game, you fall in combat. So, for those of you that do not know about this, when you're fighting and you lose all your health, you fall in combat. You can understand it like you faint. Someone in your group or outside your group can revive you by using smelling salt. You pass the smelling salt under your nose and up, you're back on your feet. You acquire a wound, whoever, but you're on your feet and you can continue to fight. But if there is no one around or the time has been spent, then you will respawn to an embering, the closest embering, the closest respawn point. You can imagine that someone, a mysterious someone, drag your body up to the embering to put you in a safe space. But that person is not carrying you back for you. So your bag stay where you fall in combat. So when you respawn, you do not have access to your bag anymore. So you have two solutions. One, you go get back the bag. Two, you dismiss it and you get a new bag, which is empty, obviously, because it's a new bag. And then you lose everything that were in your previous bag. So that's just two solutions regarding this. So you will need to play smart. You will need to play smart with your inventory. You will need to play smart with not taking too much risk, especially when you're alone, to not fall in combat and have to lose your bag and have difficulty to retrieve it and have to abandon it and lose what is inside. So this is to give a certain strategy aspect to the game, and also make player be careful about not rushing into danger like headless chicken. Falling into combat is meaningful. You have to think about it. You need to be cautious. You need to adapt your behavior to avoid it. This is something that's very important to us, to make falling into combat important. So you adapt yourself to it and you consider it in many different ways. However, we had a long discussion with our player, and some of them were not specifically happy about this mechanic. So we need to be cautious about making things too easy or making things too hard. So therefore, that was a little bit of context for the rest of the discussion. Back retrieval mechanic improvements. Sparked by some forum discussion, coupled with the above improvement to merchant and blacksmith, we are making some improvement to what you can do while missing your belongings. We want to open things up a little bit while having things still make sense contextually. The first step in this process is opening up what you can interact with while missing your belongings, mainly the bank, merchant, blacksmith, and loot. 1. Bank will not allow you to swap out equipment along with reloading your consumable and region pouch. Bank expansion can be purchased if your bank contains the currency required. While missing your belongings, however, you cannot access the withdraw deposit functionality since you do not have access to the fund in your missing bag. But you can the equipment that you have on yourself, you can swap it for something that you have in your bank. Blacksmith will now allow you to repair worn equipment using any funds that are in your personal bank, not the shared bank for a technical reason. As you may expect, you cannot repair items in your bag. Makes sense, because you don't have your bag, remember. Merchant will allow you to purchase consumable and range ammo. Consumable can only be purchased if there is room in your pouch, an empty pot, or an already present stack. Range ammo will go directly to your equipment onto an already existing stack or into an empty slot next to a compatible range weapon. So basically, what you can interact now is with what you have on yourself. You can repair what you have on yourself. You can refill your consumable in your belt pouch and on your equipment. But you cannot store stuff in your bag because you don't have your bag, remember. Looting NPC now can be done while missing your belonging with some restriction, which is really nice because that was a part which sucked very much, especially in dungeon. Your whole group was wiping, everyone lose their bag, therefore you spawn at the beginning of the dungeon again. You have to go back all the way to your bag, but during that time you cannot loot anything. And that can be frustrating. So now, you do not gain coin from looting while solo or grouped situation because of your missing bag, right? While solo, you can see all items on the body and even equip items by dragging them directly to the corresponding equipment slot. If the slot is full, you will have first to destroy the current item before equipping the new one. So let's imagine you're soloing and you find a belt. Well, if you don't have any belt, you can just take the belt from the corpse that you loot and put it directly in your equipment. If you have already a belt, you can choose to destroy that belt so it's free and you can loot the new belt that you have found on the mob. While in a group, you are eligible for loot roll on consumable, region, and range ammo. All other goods are automatically passed as they were previously. If you win a loot roll and do not have room for the item in your pouch, the item will be unlocked and remain on the corpse for anyone else to loot. The reason we auto-pass on gear is to prevent the situation where you win a roll for an item you want, we cannot equip it to you so it remains on the corpse and someone else take the loot before you get a chance to. This may change in the future, but right now, this seems like the best option to prevent that possible strife. However, if everyone passes and the gear remain on the corpse, you can loot the item and drag it directly to your equipment page. While missing your belonging, you can still not trade with other players or use the refinement station. We hope that opening this up bit ease the annoyance of bag retrieval. But as always, we look forward to your feedback. There it is. So, there it is. So that is the post you can see as a roadmap with the progress we have done, and when something has been completed, it will be strike down with the name done here. So if you want to read everything about this, please check out this thread, but I'm going to show you a few of those things. So first, we have some zone in preparation. Grizzle Peak, which is level 40-50, Highland, level 30-40, and Gorge, level 30-40. We also have New Haven City, and New Haven City will be tested by the players. For a very long time I've said we keep it secret for launch, but we have changed our mind regarding this, and so player will test it. All of the bank and merchant and everything that you find in the two sides of the wall will be found into the city in future. And then lastly, we have North New Haven Dungeon. That dungeon should happen in 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. Spawn Temple for the reorganized room are about halfway complete. We had to develop some new tech to make this process easier, which is the reason for the delay. We hope to have this out to you sooner than later. And the new dungeon is something we're really excited to show you, because the first dungeon that is in game is a teeny dungeon. The other dungeon will be very big, and it will be the full experience of what a dungeon. So basically, the one that you can find in South New Haven is the beginner experience of a dungeon. So it's just a taste of what it will be. But the real dungeon, that's coming soon. NPCs. We had a lot of questions about new NPCs. So we have a solid design for how we are going to implement the Ashen Creature. Then again, the Ashen Creature is like the beer in the trailer. The next step are creating additional tech to support this design, reorganizing NPC visual prefab for easier creation modification, and a lighting VFX SFX pass on the visual. In 1 or 2 weeks, the quest system revamp is nearing completion. A few technical issues still need to be worked out, but we are hoping to have this in the game for testing very soon. Misc NPC behavior improvement. And now, the very interesting part, new NPCs in the work. The giant turtle. So we have already shown you the giant turtle. The giant turtle have an issue with the size that require new tech to resolve. Right now you can only attack his head. In order to attack from behind and be within range, you must stand inside of his shell, which sucks. It's not nice. This new tech will allow you to attack the leg, tail, etc. Right now it will just treat the legs as the same thing as the NPC. In other words, this tech will help with distance issue on large creatures. So a very important tech, so we can really have fun with large creature in future. 3 additional NPCs that have yet to be revealed have been added to the project and are waiting design and spawning. And 2 additional NPCs are in the sculpting phase. And it's very exciting. You're going to be excited by those. Interface done. Tooltip improvement and fix. Dialogue interface or design improvement. That's very important because at the moment it's a little bit messy. We are still looking for a reproduction case where an item icon gets stuck in the loot box. Any help you can provide here will be great. Use the report function. Map interface needs zoom, pan, and resize. and in 1 to 2 weeks add a raw component only bag. Aren't you happy about that? A crafting bag, guys. We're going to have it. Crafting bag. This is awesome. Like, celebrate. It's amazing. It will probably not be an infinite crafting bag like in Elder Scrolls Online, but it's still a crafting bag. Yeah, right? Art and environment. Scale armor visual is going through the texturing phase. And I've seen the crocodile set. It's going to be really nice. NPC sound effect need another pass to normalize volume level. NPC navigation improvement to cliff-like area. And in 1 and 2 weeks, a lot of new weapon visual type are in the queue to be configured and implemented. Isn't that exciting? Tech design. That's a little bit more. Weather system is in the initial design phase. This requires some shader fixes from Unity before we can roll out rain and snow, both of which will take a decent amount of work to properly mask the environment and props. But it's being worked on. We currently plan on revisiting the discoveries for all zones. This includes separating out area discovering from point of interest discoveries, adding more point of interest discovery icon to your map, and generally cleaning things up from both the art and tech side. Done. Spawn controller improvements allow spawn controller to use a new type of selection mechanism we will call backdraw. This type of spawn controller will spin up X number of potential spawn and work its way through the rather than randomly selecting one every time based on fixed probabilities. This tech will likely be extended as an option to loot table as well. So we have been discussing about that in the patch notes already. One-way dungeon exit points that are only usable out of combat. Those will be rope, ladder, busted Embers Adrift, etc. The purpose of those is to allow you to exit the dungeon at specific points and may or may not coincide with an Ember ring. So this is really something important because the dungeons are really cool, they're really fun, but they take a lot of time to travel. And sometimes you don't have a lot of time, and sometimes you need to, get out because you have some real life stuff to attend. So this will be specific point into the dungeon that allow you to leave the dungeon earlier than the end. Allow for sending item link via chat. That's a requested feature. Crafting update. Quality determine the final durability. More organized recipe merchant. Harvesting specialization. Those will likely yield larger gathers and or refined for specific material. Crafting specialization. Those should be considered less impactful as the adventuring counterpart. The function will mainly be working with high-level material and unlocking recipes that are currently not available to that particular base profession, missing weapons, weapon armor augment, etc. So the weaponsmith specialization will be one-hander, two-hander or ranged, the outfitter light, medium and heavy, and the provisioner potion, food and jewelry, still debating this one internally. Gathering tool visual while gathering, because for now you're still mining without your pick into your hands. And profession specific crafting station. And lastly, Ember Essence system. This will allow you to collect Ember Essence whose value is capped to encourage spending and prevent hoarding. Allow for region upgrade. These include updated region power and additional Tacanon abilities with additional VFX. Ember Monolith teleportation will cost Ember Essence. And still in discussion, may or may not happen, Hearthstone ability that will likely take you back to the zone default spawn point at the cost of Ember Essence. And the inter-zone group summon ability that will cost Ember Essence. There it is. And yes, I think the work in progress and the roadmap was something important. I'm really happy that Undone has taken the time to write it down, because a lot of people were asking for it. A lot of people were wondering about it and were not specifically checking the work in progress that we had every week in the patch notes. So we still have the work in progress every week in the patch note, but here it's our roadmap for all of the stuff, all of the feature, all of the improvement we want before launch. That doesn't mean that after launch we will not consider other feature and other improvement, but that is the roadmap for launch. So this is my character. Oh! Look at this, guys. So that's the first things you can see. We have two creatures here. So let me remove my interface. And let me crouch, because you can crouch in this game. So we can go a little closer. And you can discover those two creatures. Ah, we're going too close. They disappear when we're close. They are mysterious creatures. You can see this is our planet. That's a beautiful planet. We're soon to reveal the name of that planet. But for now it's called UNEDITED. It's our community who call it UNEDITED. So it is not a moon. It's very important to make the difference. It's a planet. We are on the moon. So we are on the moon rotating around that planet. And one very important aspect, which I have explained in many episodes, but as we have so many new persons right now in the live, let me explain you how it works. So that planet is actually using as a compass. So we don't have a mini-map, you see, no mini-map. We have a map, and with that map, you need to discover, to be smart, to observe where you stand, and guess, okay, the wall is behind me, I see this tower on the side, alright, so I'm there in the road. And then you have the planet, and the planet is always showing up the north. So you do have this little cross here with the north, south, west and east, and as you have the planet always in the sky. First it light up nicely during the night, but during the day it's present as well, and unless there's a lot of cloud in front of it, it will give you an indication where to go. So you don't need a compass, you don't need a mini-map. With the help of the big map and the planets, you always have the possibility to know exactly where you stand. Yeah, it's more the wood that's burned that has a smell. So this is an ember ring, so that's an important feature of our game. That's where you will rest. If you acquire a wound, that will remove some of your hit points, or a wound that removes some of your stamina, it's not the same thing as just losing life, and you will only be able to rest around an ember ring to remove it. The ember ring are a place of power. You can see that there's plenty of flower, very particular flower growing here. So it's a concentration of ember energy here, and when you lit it on fire, then it has very special properties, because it's all about the embers, right? Another thing that I need to talk about, especially for the people that were a little bit worried about the darkness, now finally the exposure adjustment is working. So that's the exposure adjustment at the maximum, so it's very dark. It's really dark, you don't see anything, you need your torch. That's approximately how the game was before. And with the exposure adjustment, you can have all the way below, which I like better. And then the night are much more clear. Yeah! Is it Alice? No, it's probably not Alice, because Alice is not in those guilds. You also have a hail button where you can say hi to someone immediately. So Frank is saying, I've never called it that. You never called the planet Nupiter? No, but we have a lot of people that have called it Nupiter. I need to take a screenshot of this. No, you always have a torch. Always. It's Blue Peter. The only one I ever heard it was you. Really? Well, you can see a post on the forum explaining that. Oh yeah, I'm going to the merchant. Oh, I didn't pay attention to the new layout of the bar. Alright, so now we have our new... Oh shit. Oh, that will require a little bit of binding. Oh, it's okay, I don't really need to use it. Alright. Okay. So, yeah, that's a new change. Welcome to this new change. We now have 2 more slots for 2 more abilities. So before we only had 6 ability, now we're up to 8. And so that is your pouch, your region pouch, and your consumable pouch. So here I have my potion, my ground torch, my tea, I'm out of food, and that are my region that empower some of my abilities. This crude salve is empowering my first aid. That makeshift salve is also empowering my first aid, but... Okay, so once you... Thank you. You can toggle on and off your region. So here I'm not using anything, there I will be using my salve. So you can keep your more powerful one for when the situation needs it, for example. So we can already start to make groups because there's people online. This game is shining as a group. But I will first take a very teeny break. Because, yeah. You wish Jupiter has a nice ring just like Jupiter. Yeah, but we are on the rotation, so basically we will be in the ring. Because to see the ring, I think you need the planet to be much further. So I guess that what you will have to see, it's a trail in the sky to illustrate that, but you will not see it at the planet itself because we are in the area of the ring, if there were a ring. You see what I mean? Alright. And now we can take a third trade. That's another thing that's really nice. So at the... where's the scroll merchant? Here. No, it's not there. That's okay. There will be other area where you have it. So what I will take as a third trade with this character? I'm not sure. But that's okay, Frank, because it's the beta. So everything is done for nothing anyway. Or it's it's not done for nothing, it's done for testing. And here we do not have a blacksmith. So to get to the blacksmith, I need to get in town. New Haven Bank, and oh yeah, I can have some food. That's good. So let's take 20 or 25, that's good too. Whatever. So I have some food, thank you. I have some tea, that's great. Some potion. I will maybe need some potion. And then I can drop some stuff. Like this. That. And this. Right. And that is my personal stash. What do I have here? I have a lot of leather, etc. and some money. I'm going to deposit my money there, so you can use it from the stash. I don't really need to have it on me, so there it is. Hey, mad bets. But look at how beautiful this place is. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, what is dust? It's a warlord, of course. So things might be moved around. Yeah, I'm not sure if things will be moving so much. To be fair. There it is. What time it is at already? Oh, it's midnight. Oh my god. Yeah, at some point I will have to go to bed. So that's why for me, so it's probably green for them. Perfect. Yeah. And I can promise you it's super sweet. But it's tasty. And I was hungry, so now I need to stop. Do not eat more than that. Yeah. Weak liver, that's for what juggernauts? Alright. Like it's sweet too, but limits need to be set for us now. Oh, is a gather. Well, I'm two. I'm going to gather this one. Look at the sun, that's so cool. Oh, wolf. It's it will be white or green for them. It's funny they call me such child. Oh, look at this beautiful morning. Yeah, I'm still there. Probably not for super long too. Ah, that's nice. Leave it to me. It's really cool. Yeah, it's midnight for me. You will steal our child. They're funny too. Yeah, I will be back tomorrow, don't worry. But how long will I play more? Maybe 1 hour? Something like that. Do you know the difference between me and you? I make this look good. Those two guys amuse me, they're fun. Not yet. Not yet the number. Staying up a little bit more. We're exploring Midland. That one is red for me, but it's probably yellow for them. I'll stay where we can see you. Uh. The kid got carrions. So what do we have here since we don't have the monolith anymore? Well, we barely have anything. Just one little pullback. Nothing in the ring. Yeah, not even rats. We have rat there too. Timu's carcass around there somewhere. While you died again? Here? So after we helped you to get your bag. Well, what we had earlier is that we had frog that were bugged under the water. Yeah, I can skin that. I can skin this. Very good. And I need to level up my hunting skills. Oh, nice. How many croc do we have? Only 3, so that's okay. Here it's not resisting everything, so that's good. That's another croc done. I'm not using too much of my abilities because they are often resisting anyway. But just this one, Assigning Strike, because that one doesn't work very well. Yeah, let's find some pretty cool. It's. I'm wondering if there's an option to not have the music looping or something. It's weird. Oh, I've not paid attention. Let's see about that one. That one crocodile is nice. It's yellow. Alright. Ah, yeah, he saw me. I wonder if he can res me. Oh, that's a treasure. And this is now that we are ending this episode. I thank you all for watching. If you have any question, do remember to ask them in the comments below. And you can also join me live every Friday. We have now changed the time. So the show is starting at 6 p.m. Central Europe time, which is 11 a.m. CDT. So join us live on Twitch TV, and that's the best occasion to win a beta key. So take care of yourself. Thanks again for watching, and see you soon. Bye.